What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This none other than Dr. T. Antoine D. Thurston. We back, y'all. 2022, baby. We own it for real, y'all. We had a blast. 2021 was a blast. This gonna be a better year. This is the year of double, baby. Double for our trouble. I'm ecstatic. I'm excited because we back on this show. Well, I've been saying it for the longest. We are having real conversations with real people about real issues. And you can't heal if we can't be real, y'all. We got to keep it real. We got to chop it up. And I'm ecstatic about this show. First show of the year, Navigating Singleness. Navigating Singleness. And I got an extraordinary guy, man. I heard him before. He's an entrepreneur. He's a minister. He's a pastor. He's a social media influencer. And he's impacting nations and people, countries, and every area of life that you can think of. And he's definitely also a relationship coach. And when I heard this man speak, it was nothing but the wisdom of God. Some people give advice, but not godly advice. And when I heard him speak, it was so sound and so pure. And it was his wisdom that he had was filtered through the wisdom of God. And we got to have wisdom for relationships, God. We need godly wisdom, or wisdom that is filtered through the Holy Spirit. Because we can be in all these relationships and it doesn't mean anything and it doesn't amount to anything. But I'm going to have my brother introduce my brother. Let him also introduce himself. John, you're there. What's up, brother?
Dr. T, first of all, let me say thank you. First show of the year. And I'm honored and privileged to be your very first guest for the year. I think that's a big honor and a big privilege. And I don't count that or take it lightly at all. So thank you so much, first of all.
You're welcome, brother. Welcome. Yeah. Go ahead. Just man, I wanted to have you on here because I know last time I heard you, you was doing a talk show with Adriana, and you said some prolific things in that segment that just stuck out that men in our culture aren't talking about. Especially even with your shirt. Now you are a billboard. You know, just the way you walk and talk, and your shirt is a billboard. It says purity is. What does the rest of it say?
I think it says purity is dope. It's not my brand. I actually supporting my sister who has a purity movement.
Shaquilla?
No, not Shaquilla. Not Shaquilla. Katusia.
Okay.
Voices of Purity.
Exactly. That's what's up.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Shaquilla too. Shaquilla is awesome as well. I think she's been on the show.
Yeah, she's cool. She's died. She's cool. She's cool.
She's dope.
Straight up, for real. And you know, we did a good segment with Shaquilla last year, and it was dope. It was dope. And man, we talked about value as well. We ain't gonna get there yet. We ain't gonna go there, but we got a segment with you. But man, just introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are, what you do. I've already introduced you, but
okay. I thought the introduction was phenomenal. John Momplis here. I am first and foremost a preacher of the gospel, I'm an entrepreneur and inspirational speaker. I'm known to many as a life coach, a social media influencer, but mostly I pride myself on the fact there are two gorgeous little girls that knows me as daddy. And so that is, to me, one of the most fulfilling assignments that I have. I absolutely enjoy being a father and love being a father to the girls that God has called me to father. And so that's me in a nutshell. I think you did phenomenal with the introduction. I dare not try to come behind it and say anything else, but that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, wonderful. You know, we talk about singleness, and it's like we live in a culture where singleness is almost abhorred. It's looked down on, it's frowned upon culturally. Mm-hmm. I have some Italian friends, female friends, that if you're not married, it's like you the black sheep. Even in our culture, you know, if you're not married, what you doing wrong? You know, I've had people look at me, right. You know, why you're not married yet, as if being single is a disease. What is real singleness, and why do you think we have that taboo mindset, that cultural mindset that singleness is disease? It's basically kind of like a disease. Why is that?
I think that people know that we have to address the elephant in the room. So marriage is a beautiful thing. We've got to establish that marriage is phenomenal. It's beautiful. I hope to be married one day. we know the concept that two is better than one.
Yes.
One could put 1,000 to flight, two could put 10. We understand the power of agreement. And so because of that, oftentimes we assume that if it's not being done the way we want to see it done, then there's something wrong with the individual. So when it comes to singleness, we assume something's wrong. They're undesirable. They cannot get along with others. Nobody wants them. They're just there's just something wrong with them. And I don't know how far I could go on the show as far as what I could say.
No, no, man, this real talk. Be
uh,
real. The only way we gonna get there is to be real. Be raw.
I'm,
Be raw
I'm,
as you
I'm,
got to be, bro.
you know, either there people, some people assume, they don't have the desire. Some people assume that someone is remaining single because they're choosing to be, Lord, I don't want to say hoe, but they're choosing to just be out there with everybody, and they cannot commit. Um, we assume so much about an individual
Yeah.
who chooses to stay single or who is currently single. And what I think a lot of people forget is prior to them being married, they were single.
Yeah.
Uh, and so singleness is a phase that we all go through. Nobody comes out the womb married. Nobody, just pops up married. We all have gone through it, and it's a necessary phase. Whether one stays at the phase that place of singleness or go into a place of marriage, singleness is absolutely a necessity. It is necessary for maturity. It's necessary for self-development.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary for discovering self, discovering your purpose. And so the fact that we look at singleness as though it's something to be frowned upon scares me.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with people who are single. Oftentimes we think they're undesirable. That's not the case. Sometimes some of us are a little too picky, if I could be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
But it's not that they're undesirable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that there's something wrong with them. And
Yeah.
you cannot make the assumption people are single because they want to be out here, or they're choosing to be single because they just can't commit to one individual.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. There are cases with individual like that. It's unfortunate that everybody gets thrown in that bunch, man. It's
Yeah.
it's troubling.
Yeah. I had I remember I had one of my mother's friends, older friends, make an assessment of me or even other men and assume that they or we were not interested in women because we were single and because we weren't so quick to pick anything.
Mm-hmm.
I am, I do like, I think there's a level of pickiness we all have. That's
Mm-hmm.
just general. It's like food, you know,
Absolutely.
like burgers. When I go get a burger, I don't like raw onions on my burgers. It's not about it being disgusting. Now I eat onions on my salad. I eat raw onions in myself, but not for my burger. And you got to know what you desire, even for your marriage and even in your singleness. You might like onions in your relationship. I don't like onions in my relationship. So everybody's taste buds isn't the same. It's just not that they're picky, but I know what I like. You might like pickles on your sandwich. I don't like pickles. I
Right.
only like lettuce, ketchup, mayo, cheese. That's it. I'll put on this on that, or I'm taking it off. And so people will make an assessment because you won't accept any and everything people are trying to throw at you. Well,
Right.
that's not fair.
Right.
They think you're supposed to be gullible and desperate, and we don't want to come in a sense of desperation. And you said something very important. And that was my next question. Singleness, the purpose of singleness is to find our purpose and function. And I
Absolutely.
want to say this because so many people are chasing marriage and relationships, and they haven't mastered themselves. They haven't learned to master their emotions, their mind, their thinking, their income, their outcome, their expenses. They haven't learned to master other relationships. Some of us haven't even learned how to master our own body.
Mm.
Physical, exercise, working out, just taking care of the physical body. But we want to be in a relationship. And if we cannot master our singleness, then we can't master being married.
So good.
What is the function of singleness, and why should we pursue these qualities in singleness?
Yeah, I think singleness is a necessity. If you look at what the Apostle Paul talks about, he says, when one is single, there is more freedom and liberty to do the work of God. There's more freedom and liberty to do a lot more. Oftentimes, we're ready to jump into something, and there's nothing wrong with marriage. It's absolutely beautiful, but we're ready to jump into something without first self mastery. Coming into the marriage, you're bringing yourself in. You're giving yourself as a gift. That person is bringing themselves as a gift. What kind of gift are you bringing in? If you have not mastered self, if you have not done the work on yourself, both mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, a lot of folks are talking about how, they come through the way they come through today because they understood the assignment. The reality is a lot of us really don't understand the assignment, even in marriage, because if we did, we've spent time building ourselves in our singleness. And so to me, the purpose of singleness is for you to be self-discovery, you to be discovering your purpose, you to be mastering that purpose, you to be stacking your money, you to be getting your finances in order, your schooling, whatever it is that God has put your hands to do or placed in your heart to pursue. You ought to be pursuing that, because what people actually don't realize is there are a lot of challenges that come when you get married, because now you have to consider another individual's thoughts, feelings, emotions. You don't just move on your own accord. But while you are single, you have that liberty and that freedom that once you leave that phase of singleness, it no longer exists. And so I think it's a time of self-development. I think it's a time of maturity. I think it's a time of self-discovery. I think it's a time for growth. And I think it's a time, most importantly, to pursue your purpose. Discover what it is that you were created to do. Pursue that purpose.
Yes, definitely. And sometimes, honestly, it's not until you get in a relationship you realize you weren't ready for one. I remember I was dating a young individual, a young lady last year, and sometimes, and as we were talking, I said, "I'm ready. I'm ready," and I'm in it. I got you. I got you. I'm in it all the way from the surface. And she said, "Antoine, I'm a lot to handle." And I'm like, "I got it. I'm good." And when we got deeper in the relationship and all the skeletons, I had skeletons. She had skeletons. Not necessarily anything bad, but just things. When you get in a relationship, there are a lot of things you're not aware of that you bring. It just unconsciously we just bring. And so as more kept being unraveled like an onion, it really began to overwhelm me. And I wasn't ready. Neither was she ready. Or this individual, great individual, lovely. Both of us got our pluses and our strengths and all that. But if we are not prepared to handle this person's, it's not baggage, but it's their toils, it's their weaknesses, it's their strengths, all that they are. See, sometimes we look at stuff from the surface. They're cute, they got paper, they making money. Money don't mean nothing when you don't have peace home. I literally know grown women that I know that their husband passed, and they told me to my face, if I had to marry this man all over again, I would never do it, because he was a great provider. He made money, but he was a horrible husband. Meaning he was bringing home the bacon financially, but he was destitute emotionally. No intimacy. Had addiction, pornography, lottery. They would not remarry their own husband, because when you compare it to peace and wholeness, it's no comparison. They wouldn't even want to do it. So when we think of singleness, and like you said, relationship reveals.
Exposes it.
It just reveals. Yeah. And so if you're naturally a selfish person, you might not see it while you're single. But when you get in a relationship, you start seeing how selfish we really are. And as we were talking, me and the young lady, she's like, "You doing this, you doing that," and I'm like, "Dang." And then I see this and I see that, and it's like, okay, we're not ready for this. And some of us are in relationships we still not ready for. And some of us will get married and we still ain't married for marriage because we want a relationship. We want that comfort and that companion, but we're not qualified to handle this person.
And if I could add something to that, because I've been there, relationships really exposes some ugliness about you that sometimes you don't know is there. I could tell you for me, there's some things that I learned that I was shocked about myself, that is. So, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
with the young lady, and I discovered there was some pride that
yeah,
needed to be dealt with. Now, pride is a very ugly thing.
yeah,
The Bible, God says, I hate the very look of pride. So,
yes,
none of us think we got it. We don't understand it's multifaceted.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
you see what I'm saying? So, I get into a heated fellowship with this young lady, put it that way, a little discussion, and we just hypothetically throw a discussion out there. She says 2 + 2 is 4. And I said, no, 2 + 2 is 5. You're tripping. 2 + 2 is 4. Halfway through the argument, I realized she got the goods on me. I'm wrong. I'm halfway through. I'm wrong. Now, I realized something about me, even when I knew I was wrong. If you think I was going to admit that I was wrong at that moment, it was not going to happen. I fought to the death of me, knowing I'm wrong. And then the young lady, I could tell that she knew, okay, he knows he's wrong. Now, here's what we do. We play slick. So I disappear for 10 minutes or so and come back and say, you know how we could be after prayer. We always throw it in there after praying.
I'm afraid about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
After careful consideration, I realized I was wrong. You're absolutely right. And you see, the young lady accepts the apology. Said, I'm sorry. I was completely wrong. Do you accept my apology? I do. She said, I do. She accepts the apology. Here's the issue with that. She accepts the apology, but that's not what she really wanted. She wanted something the Bible talks about when it comes to being a husband, that death. A man must give up himself, that ego, that pride. I needed to die to that at that moment and wasn't willing to. You see what I'm saying? And so it exposed something. Oh my God. Especially in heated moments, you don't like to admit that you're wrong.
Oh yeah.
You understand? The grace you extend to yourself, you don't extend it to everybody else. And so there was so much. And so some of us, and I'll be very honest with you, some of us are a little hesitant to jump in head first because we've done the self-assessment. And we're not trying to go into anything damaging or hurting people. There are people that have come out of marriages and relationships damaged, broken, and hurt because somebody else didn't choose to do the self-assessment. Just assess. We've all got issues. And so before you just dive in, take a good look in the mirror, do some real deep soul searching. And so that's where I've been, man, really doing some soul searching and really trying to get it together.
And I think that's part of the process. It's about embracing our flaws, our weaknesses, or they're just those areas we make improvements on. And I think as long as we're making those improvements, it's tolerable. It is when we're not making those improvements and we're content with being dysfunctional or blind spotted by our own arrogance that the relationship takes a toll.
Absolutely.
I remember my mother when she always tell me stories about my dad. She said they went to the courthouse, got married, and the moment she married him, he just got in the car and he went to go to a party and started drinking. And it's like she's like, okay, you went right back to the stuff you said you weren't doing.
Wow.
What did I get myself into? And so there comes, like you said, that self-assessment in choosing people. And I think one of the things that I feel like the Lord's saying, we got to learn how to choose us first. You've chosen God. Some of us chosen God, but we didn't never choose us.
Ooh.
We haven't chosen ourselves. We want somebody else to choose us, but we haven't chosen us. What does choosing ourselves look like in singleness?
choosing ourselves goes back to that preparedness. A better you chooses a better them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, we date at the level of our self-esteem.
Wow.
We date based on the level of our maturity, and most of us, if we were to be honest, most of us could say this: we have looked at an ex some years later and just said to ourselves, "What on earth
But
was I
that's
thinking? How, how did I what?" And that's because at the time you dealt with that, your level of maturity, and people don't understand this. When you mature and develop, your desires change.
yeah.
What you wanted at one stage is no longer what you want at another stage. And so the more self-work that you do, the better individual that you can choose. And so with choosing you, it's choosing to do the work. It's choosing to focus on uh, the things that you've got to change about yourself. It's choosing to grow, to mature, to evolve, and doing that, you'll find that your desires will change and evolve. And ultimately, what happens is you end up choosing a better spouse.
And it's funny because when you said it, like, oh my God, he's right, he hitting it because I'll look back 10 years ago, I'll be like, what was I thinking? Because I'm like, ugh, like what was so fine and flying and good and all that. It's like disgusting because your taste has changed because you're choosing you. And so many of us, we haven't chosen ourselves. We haven't made improvements. And I see women, I don't, for the life of me, I see women, good women, and I'm like, what are you doing with this guy? Like this guy, I don't believe in people being inferior, but this person is just not good enough for you. And I mean that in a genuine
Yeah,
way, even as a
yeah,
parent. You be like, you could do a lot better than this. Why are you picking a paper plate when you deserve, creme de la creme?
right.
But like you said, I never heard it that way. We date at the level of our maturity and the way we think. And I really believe when you said that, that really has to do also with self-esteem.
Absolutely.
Some of us are so desperate. Even looking back on myself, I used to fantasize about women, a woman that I used to like as a single man, even as a preacher. And I place more value on being in a relationship than my own value as a man. And so many times we see that person adding value, but you got to realize you add value as well. We add
Absolutely.
value as an individual. And so if I don't value myself, then I make you a god. And now you can really manipulate me in my vulnerability. And that's what happens a lot of times. People get stuck in these relationships that's really not going nowhere or haven't been going nowhere, might go somewhere, maybe go somewhere, but it's really not fruitful. It's really not abundant. It's really not God's best.
Absolutely.
And like you said, that self-worth is so important. Being so consumed with marriage or just being in a relationship, not even marriage, just being with a good person. And we date down. We
Yeah.
we we covenant downward instead of
Yeah.
upward.
Yeah.
Um, and like you said, because of our mindset, like you said, what were we thinking? Our thought, the way we think. And sometimes, like you said, that singleness is a place where we have to improve our whole mindset, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, and physically in every area. It can't just be one area. Some people think it's just money or just the spiritual. It has to be all areas so we can
Absolutely.
be fully functional. Like you said, and I think that's so important. I think that's missing in our society is choosing us and making us a better person in all aspects. Because when you become a better person, you attract better. And I see some women, and it's not all. Some of us just got people coming at us because they desperate. But there's some women I'm like, you're not ready for marriage. You're
Wow.
really not. And there's some men ain't ready for marriage because of their mindset. Some people just want the wedding. They don't want the covenant. They just want the
Yeah.
wedding and they want the ring, they want the flash.
Yes.
And that's all you want. But it's not about that. It's about the covenant. It's about the relationship. And it's
You,
about us.
our generation is so obsessed with weddings. We put we invest all of our time, money, energy into weddings and forget about the covenant of marriage. Weddings are supposed to last a day. And that covenant was designed to last for a lifetime.
Yes.
The work that you should be putting in should be towards that covenant of marriage, not that wedding for a day, not your social media pics, not the cute pics for Instagram and Facebook and getting the nicest ring. None of that stuff at the end of the day really matters. It's all optics. It really doesn't matter. It's about investing. I'll tell you, when this global pandemic hit,
Mm-hmm.
most people, relationship coaches, therapists, counselors, were all telling you the amount of influx of calls they received of marriages falling apart. People, literally, you married an individual, but because many were forced to stay home, to work at home, and spend more time with their spouse, many discovered they really don't like the person they're with. Domestic violence went through the roof. People were saying, I never knew she was like this. I never knew he was. I don't want to be with them, because they were working most of the time and not spending enough time with each other. And so I said to myself, you know what? God forbid, but if there was ever something that created another global shutdown and I'm trapped in the house with my spouse, I want to have the time of my life. I want to like somebody for real. I
Yeah.
want somebody that likes me for real. I'm
Yeah.
not doing this. We look good on social media.
Exactly.
I want that real thing.
Exactly.
I want something that's long lasting. I want something that's genuine. I want to genuinely laugh with you and enjoy your presence, and you minds, and me feed your mind, and you do the same for me. I want some of that stuff reciprocated. And so it's just the same that we invest so much into these weddings that's supposed to last a day, and forget about the covenant of marriage that's supposed to last a lifetime.
That's good. That's good, man, because it's about show. It's about materialism. It's about looking good for the gram and really impressing people that ain't
Pretty
going
much.
to invest in your marriage.
Pretty
And
much.
some of us, watch this here, we've invested more money, 10,000. The average is probably like no less than $10,000. But we'll invest $10,000 in a marriage, but won't invest $10,000 in ourselves. Not the marriage. I'm talking about individual personal development. I'm talking about counseling, therapy. Counseling and therapy. Because some of us have so much trauma from past relationships. I literally had to tell this female, friend of mine, good friend of mine. I said, she said, Antoine, I couldn't be with you because you're too nice. And I said, you know what the problem with that is? That's based on trauma. You need to check
Because
that.
you're too nice?
Because I'm too nice. She felt like she could run over me. The problem with it, I said, this is what I said to her. This is what I said to her. I said, you got to check that. Because that is really built on trauma and past relationships. You think the thug and the strong guy that you think is going to protect you is what you want. That's not what you want. And I had to change her mindset, because I know women, even my own mother told me, Antoine, I wish I would have never picked the guy with the muscles.
Wow.
That's it. I got muscles. I work out. That has nothing to do with my manhood. Some of these women think a man that can protect them is the guy that'll cuss them out and be hard. No, a real strong man covers his family.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? And this ideal of manhood in our society is a loss and gone. And my dad used to flirt with every woman. He used to flirt with every female, be at the hospital, be flirting with them. I'm like, you want me to be like that?
Wow.
What you want me to be like? No, I say change your mindset, because that is rooted in trauma and a false view of manhood. And that's the thing about it. And then the thing about it is, some of us were picking the wrong ones because we have a false perception of what manhood is or womanhood is, period.
Absolutely.
Or what a man is supposed to do and what a woman is supposed to do. And I said, and she thanked me for it. We're good friends. We've been friends for over 8 years. But she needed that check from a man saying, baby, there's nothing weak about me. You have a distorted view of men. And how many of us have distorted views of manhood and womanhood in our singleness, and we can never get what we really want because we have distortion. This is where therapy and counseling and working through those traumas and hurt and pain comes out, and it helps our perception. What is your view on that, brother?
I think you're absolutely right. We need to come back and redefine masculinity and femininity. I think we've lost the definitions. I've had conversations with individuals, women in particular, where it was shocking to them because they thought because of the way a man looked that immediately meant that he would have been a protector, only to discover that that's a characteristic trait. And that's an internal thing. And when they got into some situation, she realized not only he's not willing to protect me in something physical, but he wouldn't even protect my heart. Trying to explain to them, dear, you were looking at the wrong thing. You kept looking at the physical. You thought because of his height, because of his body mass, because of his muscles, he's got you. But the reality was his heart was not to cover you. And so those are the things that we have to pay attention to. But I think, I'll be honest with you, I think we got to go back to the basics in our generation as it pertains to masculinity and femininity. I think we got to go back and teach people what is it to really be a man and what is it to be a woman. Because I think we've got the definitions all screwed up today. And so, yeah.
It's a mess. It's a mess, man. It's and it's something, man. It's something. That's a whole other conversation.
As a whole other conversation.
But man, but that's a part of self-worth. That's a part of investing in ourselves. Getting an understanding of what true masculinity is and what true femininity is. I'll be honest with you, I don't like loud. I hate loud. I'm not saying like, I don't like it when a woman is loud. What you mean? She's overbearing. I need humility. That's what I'm looking for.
Softness.
Humility. Softness. I don't need you nagging at me about this and that. And that's what men are looking for. But some women, they're so masculine or over masculine, they can't hear that.
You know what they've done? They've redefined terms.
Exactly.
And so loud and overbearing is now strong.
Yeah. But
I got brothers saying, I don't want no strong woman because of that.
Yeah. And it's really a sign of weakness. Because I've been in school all my life, mostly the loudest people that talk the most trash can't fight.
They can't back it up.
Can't back it up. But it's the quiet ones you got to watch out. I'm serious. But there's this, like you said, this distortion because we have not worked on ourselves. And so, last question possibly. When we're talking about this self-worth, like you said, we all have damage, we all have trauma and grief. We all come with something. None of us are perfect. Mm-hmm. What level of healing should we be at? And give you an example. Is 50% good enough? Is 70% good enough? Or is 90% good? How whole should a person be?
Okay. Here's what I don't believe. I don't believe that you have to be 100% prior to a relationship. But you do have to be in a place where you can function and be healthy. I couldn't tell you what the exact figure as percentage would be, but I would say this. You have to leave that place of toxicity where your behaviors they're no longer just damaging you, and if they're damaging you, they're awful, but they're damaging to another individual. So you have to come to a place where how you function and how you move is healthy enough that someone has to really do some deep work to dissect there are some issues there. Now, I don't believe in that 100%. You should not get into a relationship or marriage until you're 100% healed, 100%. No, I think we all have work to do. I think sometimes you meet individuals that help you along the way and help you get to that maybe 100%, or somebody may come and get you to you're at 80% and somebody boosts you up to 90%. But you do have to be functioning in a healthy way. And that is to remove all toxicity.
Yeah, man, that's when we, like you said, that toxicity can poison a relationship. And if we don't heal, and one thing about healing, you gotta you can't heal without self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
If we're not aware that we're poison or toxic, or we have poisonous traits, then we can't deal with it. We can't process it. We can't confront it. And some people, I know, when you tell them their toxicity or that they got poisonous traits, they get upset. Why? Because they don't want to be held accountable. And if a person is not willing to be held accountable in their singleness, you're not going to be willing to be held accountable in a relationship, because a relationship is about accountability. And if you're not willing to be held accountable now, you're not going to want it later. And some people, they just want the benefits of being in a relationship, but not the accountability of relationship.
I love it. I love it. That's a term our generation seems to be allergic to, and that is accountability. And I don't know if it stems because stems from the fact that our generation in particular seem to have been overly mothered, and we lack fathers. I don't know if it stems from that, but there is a major issue with always wanting to be babied, never taking accountability, always wanting to be nurtured, in our own mess, and it's troubling. No two people can ever have a healthy relationship unless there is accountability. And to me, that is one of the most powerful characteristics an individual can have. Accountability makes you teachable. Accountability helps you make changes. Accountability helps you redirect your focus. And if you were heading in one direction, make you head in the opposite direction. Without it, it's dangerous. It's the lack of accountability to me is it can sometimes appear like a reprobated mind. It's the one thing God withholds from the proud is the ability to change. And when you can't change, you have reached a dangerous place. And people who lack ability, accountability, they're at a place where they cannot change. They cannot change because they refuse to see themselves, and they refuse to hold themselves accountable for whatever it is that they do. And it's a dangerous place to be.
And it reminds me of scripture that says, iron sharpens iron. But the thing about iron, you read that verse and we quote it, but we don't really understand the dynamics of what that really means. You don't sharpen iron with wood, but you also can't sharpen iron with any other material other than iron. But also, when you realize when they're making iron and sharpening it, usually it's hot. Usually.
Yeah.
Well, there's some type of force to sharpen it. And some of us want to be sharp and want to be effective, but we don't want heat. We don't want nothing hot. We don't want nothing that makes us, like you said, mendable, because it can't really be bent or shaped if it's not hot. When it's hot, it can be twisted, turned, any kind of. Some of us, we don't want that. Like you said, how can I sharpen you if you're not willing to get in the hot places with me?
Ooh, that's good.
It's the heat that makes us moldable. It's the heat and the fire that makes us, the accountability makes us teachable. The Bible says one man sharpens another. He builds a man up. I can't build you up if you're not teachable, if you're not humble. And so you're still in the shape you are, and you can't be molded until he comes or something with equal or greater force comes and bangs some stuff. And some of us, God is trying to bang us, or he'll send the right people to bang us into shape. And I remember you said something so powerful, I never forgot it. You said when you were talking to Adriana, sometimes God people send you in your life or relationship that'll make you better. It's not even for ministry, it's just to make you a better person. And some of us, God is just trying to make us better, like you said. But we can't become better because we're what? Accountable, like you said.
So good. That's so good. I've made it my business that any relationship I get in, or friendship or whatever, and even if that particular friendship or whatever it is doesn't have the longevity to withstand the distance I want it to withstand, I want to leave people better than I find them. That's the goal. Let me invest into you to leave you better than I found you. Let me teach you. Let me pour into you. and you reciprocate that. That to me, it's a beautiful thing, and that's the piece with iron sharpens iron. But you must be teachable, and you must be willing to take accountability. And those things you can't avoid, you can't run from. And it scares me that our generation finds the term accountability, or not just the term, the concept of being accountable, so repulsive, and they push it away. But it's necessary. Honestly, it's a sexy trait. I'll be honest with you, in a woman when she is accountable. And I think women would say this very same for men who take accountability.
You know, I'm a mentor at Parkway Middle. And when you said accountability, it's so true. Young people, especially our generation. I mean, this generation, our generation is a little different. You can take a whooping.
We're a little better.
Yeah, we're a little better. And the kid was just getting in stuff. And I said, man, what are you doing? And I took out $100 and put it on the table. I said, that's yours, man. I said, go get it. He went to get it, but I held his hand back. I said, why don't you go get it? Because you're holding my hand back. And I said this is what your mindset is doing to you. You can have the $100, but as long as you think the way you think, and you always think your teachers don't like you, and they bullying you, and they mean, and you are going to hold your own self back from everything you want. And some of us, it is our mindset that is keeping us from living our best life. It is our mindset that's causing all these triggers and things not to go well. Some of us were blaming mom, dad, sister, this person. It ain't no good men, it ain't no good women. No, sometimes it's just us.
It's true.
And sometimes we're not in position. Because the Bible says, you know, God, Adam was asleep, but then he got up. Adam was in the right place. And some of us, we're not in position. Not just financially, but mentally and emotionally to have an effective relationship.
I love it.
Man, I enjoyed you, man. Man, I want people to connect with you, man. How can the people reach you? How can the people reach you and connect with you?
Website is listed up there, johnmontplaisir.com. The platform I think that I spend the most time on is Instagram. And so they can connect with me on Instagram or all social media platform, Facebook, John Montplaisir, everything, Twitter that I'm barely on. But you can link up with me on almost any social media platform, looking up the name John Montplaisir.
Anything else you want to leave with the people before we go?
Well, I love to just kind of piggyback on the self-work that we talk about, the importance of it. And somebody's probably listening and saying to themselves, you know, I desire marriage and I want to make the best choice. I want to choose the right person. And just reminding people that a better you would choose a better spouse for you. And so when you elevate, when you evolve, when you grow, when you become that person that God designed you to become, it is easier for you to make the right choice. And there are people probably dealing with loneliness and being alone. Discover your purpose. Find what it is that God created for you to do. You know, tell people you can be alone, but you don't have to be lonely.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the Bible talks about that. We know Adam was alone, and you know, some ask the question, well, how on earth is Adam alone? God is in the garden walking in the cool of the day. He has the animals there. How is he alone? Well, Adam could not find anybody to connect with him on a romantic level and bond with him. And so God was above him and connected with him on a spiritual level. The animals were beneath him and he couldn't interact with them the way he wanted to. So God brought him Eve. But when you talk about loneliness, it is really the absence of purpose. Because you can be in a room full of people and still feel lonely. You can be in a relationship and in a marriage and feel like you are by yourself, feel like you are, and feel loneliness like never before. And so there is self-work that must be done if you're going to pursue a relationship, if you're going to pursue marriage. We gotta get to work on ourselves.
Love it, man. Man, that was phenomenal. I love that.
Appreciate you.
Better you chooses a better them. And I like the root of that word bet. Let's bet on us. We bet on
Yeah.
everything else, but we got to bet on us.
Bet on us.
Put the money on us. Develop ourselves, our character, our mind, our spirit, our body. So every area of our life, not just one area, but be holistic, be complete. Amen. Man, I enjoyed you. You're a blessing, man.
Likewise, Doc. I appreciate you much.
Bless you, brother. Love you. Everybody, peace out to the next episode of Real Talk with Dr. T. God bless everybody.